I was being hunted by a bear in the woods. The thing that saved me was so much worse. Stringy, bone-white hair hung down past his shoulders. He was just standing there, utterly still, turned slightly away from me. He was carrying a large, heavy-looking leather sack over one shoulder. As I stumbled to a halt, my mind struggling to process what I was seeing, he shifted the bag. The top flapped open for a second, and something pale spilled out, landing on the mossy ground with a soft, wet thud. It was a human hand. My brain short-circuited. I stared at the severed hand, then at the sack, and I could suddenly make out the lumpy, gruesome shapes within it. The curve of a foot. The unmistakable shape of a human femur. And another hand, its fingers curled into a fist. The stories my grandmother used to tell me, scary folk tales from her village to keep the kids from wandering off at night, crashed into my mind. The impossibly tall, thin man. The sack of bones. The whistling. Al Silban. The whistler. He turned his head slowly, and I saw his face beneath the brim of the hat. It was a ghastly, emaciated face, with skin stretched tight over a skull. And he smiled. It was a wide, horrifying smile, full of yellowed, broken teeth. He wasn't a savior. He was the thing the bear was running from. He was the thing I had run to. The whistle hadn't been a call for help. It had been his own hunting song. A roar from behind me snapped me out of my paralysis. The bear crashed into the clearing, its eyes wild, foam flying from its jaws. It saw me, then it saw the tall thing with the sack of bones. The bear, this massive, terrifying engine of destruction, skidded to a halt. "Hello," guttural growl rumbled in its chest, a sound of fear and aggression all at once. The man in the rags just stood there, his horrible smile never wavering. My survival instinct, which had already been screaming, went into overdrive. I didn't think. I reacted. I threw myself sideways, diving headfirst into a thick, thorny bush at the edge of the clearing. The thorns tore at my skin and clothes, but I didn't care. I was hidden. From my painful hiding spot, I peeked through the leaves. The scene in the clearing was a tableau from hell. The whistler stood motionless, his sack of horrors resting at his feet. The bear, driven by instinct or territorial rage, rose up onto its hind legs. It stood a full 8, maybe 9 feet tall, a mountain of muscle and claw. It let out a deafening roar that shook the very air, and swiped one of its massive paws at the tall, thin man. I didn't wait to see the blow land. I couldn't. I scrambled out of the other side of the bush and ran. I ran back the way I came, away from the clearing, away from the two monsters fighting for the prize. For me. I ran like I had never run in my life, my mind a blank slate of pure terror. And then I heard it. It wasn't a roar. It was a scream. A high-pitched, agonized, animal scream of unbelievable pain. It was the bear. The sound was cut off abruptly, followed by a wet, cracking sound that I will hear in my nightmares for the rest of my life. And then, the whistle started again. Do-dee-doo. But this time, it was different. It was loud. It was so close it sounded like it was right behind my ear.